Get out.
PFT OT Tuesday edition, where Chris Simms and I have a chance to talk about things we didn't get to during 2 hours of PFT Live. And Chris, I am throwing what you would call the Al River on challenge flag on you one day later than I could have or should have, because we did a draft on Monday of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL, and you picked Nick Foles. And I kind of threw the challenge flag then, although I really didn't have the ammunition to back it up. I now do, because Foles is not the backup. Trubisky is the backup. And case in point, the folks at FanDuel have installed the odds as to who will be the starter for the Chicago Bears in 2020. Nick Foles is a minus 320 favorite, which means you have to bet $320 to win 100. Conversely, for Mitchell Trubisky, you bet 100, you win 200 if he's the week one starter. Foles is the starter, not Trubisky, so you've lost the draft one day after the fact.
Too late. The time's lapsed. You can't go back and change it now. Well, listen, I've been saying this ever since they signed and traded Nick Foles and got the new contract. They got to start Nick Foles. They have to. To me, it's like a no-brainer, all right? First off, I just look at it and go, man, Mitchell Trubisky is one of the lightning rod subjects in all of football, and especially with the Bears fan base. And I think that he is, of course, we know, under a microscope because of the Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes thing, and, didn't play well last year. There's no doubt about that. Now, I would certainly sit here and argue that offense in Chicago stinks too, and a lot of quarterbacks would have struggled in it. I would. But I just think the way it's stacked right now, man, if you make Mitchell Trubisky the starting quarterback to start the season, I just feel like it's a no-win situation for the guy. I do. The first time he throws an incompletion or the team loses a game, even though he might play well, it's going to start the Bluebirds or let's start Nick Foles. So I almost feel like the Bears have to start Nick Foles. And then if Mitchell Trubisky was to play, it's okay, we bring him off the bench, whether Nick Foles gets hurt or not playing well. And Bears will be able to digest that, I think, easier than Trubisky starting and them just wanting him to be replaced by Nick Foles, who's won a starting quarterback. And, I think a lot of people just think he's better than Trubisky altogether.
I vividly recall, Chris, when we were in Chicago in advance of the week one game for the 2019 season between the Packers and the Bears, there was a palpable sense. There was fear. The fan base was like, what is going to happen with this guy? They were all scared to death that he was not going to be the guy that we got glimpses of in 2018, and they were right. They knew better than anyone. They had reason to be concerned about Mitchell Trubisky. We saw the regression last year. And you're right, they can't start him week one. The only way it's not Foles is if Foles gets injured during training camp or the preseason, and they have to start Trubisky because they can't justify it. Now, if Foles does get injured and Trubisky gets a chance to play and plays well, perceptions may change. But for now, it's Foles. And they're going to ride with Foles, and they're going to see what they can get out of Foles, and they're going to hope that Foles can play like he did in 2017 when the Eagles won the Super Bowl and 2018. What did Foles do? He brought an overmatched Eagles team to Soldier Field and beat the Bears.
Right. No, well, listen, he's battle-tested. He knows this offense. He played, they got Bill Lazor there, right? He's got some history with him, I believe. But, of course, more importantly, the history with Matt Nagy and understanding the Andy Reid, Matt Nagy offense, which is, going to be a leg up. I mean, he'll know the offense better than Mitchell Trubisky, or at least every bit as good. And, listen, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat things. A big reason why the fan base in Chicago, doubted Mitchell Trubisky, to your point, early last year and things like that, I think a lot is because of the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears did a horrible job of supporting him his rookie year. They put no talent around him. His second year, they put some talent around him, got Matt Nagy in there, had a Super Bowl-type defense, but Matt Nagy started off his career by sending out a lot of under-the-radar signals that Trubisky can't be his guy, and you heard it. I heard it from a lot of people in the back channels of the NFL and things like that, to where I feel like the Bears themselves set this narrative a little bit and didn't support Trubisky like other top 10 quarterbacks would be supported more times than not. And that's where I feel bad for Mitchell Trubisky. And, that's part of the reason why I just don't think they can start him. You start Nick Foles, let him go. Hopefully they win games. If they don't win games, then you can bring Mitch in to save the day.
I remember you were salty early in the 2018 season because of Nagy's comments about not being able to use the full offense with Trubisky. It shows you got no faith in the guy, and you're undermining the guy right out of the gates.
It was to start the year. It was the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers hurt his knee and came back and made all those great plays on one leg. It was that game. One of the first graphics they ever threw on the board for that game was Mitchell Trubisky running on the field with a quote from Matt Nagy that said, "Can't install my full offense with this guy at quarterback." I still got the picture on my phone. That's what a great way to start the guy's career off, by letting everybody know that he can't execute your full offense. I hope Nick Foles goes in there this year and they put up a graphic of him and he has a quote going, "Matt Nagy, not as good as the other offensive coordinators I've been around." That's that would be fair. That's bull crap. That was a bull crap thing, and I did not like that.
Well, and it just showed that sometimes a dysfunctional relationship starts off in dysfunctional fashion, and it leads to dysfunctional places, and that's where the Bears currently are. I don't know what to think of the Bears this year. I did a thing yesterday for our NBCSN affiliate in Chicago, and they wanted me to just talk generally about how the team is improved or not. It's like I can't get past the quarterback position. I feel like it's all going to hinge on that. Any other changes you've made don't matter. If the quarterback position works, the Bears will be better, and if it doesn't, it won't. Period.
Right. Well, I think that's certainly a big part of the conversation. The quarterback play and the offense in general have to get better. I'm not trying to say this, right? What I saw on film last year from the Chicago Bears offense, and maybe Mitch Trubisky is the reason why it was like this, but I didn't see a lot of different the year before either, where it to me is one of the most underwhelming, unimaginative offenses in the NFL. So I'm not a huge fan of the offense. And yes, the quarterback's not doing a lot to raise the level of play there altogether. But you're right. The Bears are one of those teams, right? We see some talent in some certain spots. The defense, them getting Robert Quinn, signing back Danny Trevathan. I'm just trying to look. Even Artie Burns at corner is a nice addition to their secondary. Their defense is still going to be one of the better ones in football. To your point, Mike, it's all about the offense. What does Jimmy Graham do? They did get Cole Kmet in the first round or second round, and he's a first-round type talent. So they're going to have some good tight end play there in Chicago this year. But can they run the ball? Can they protect the passer? Can they create explosive plays in the pass game? Those are all things that just we didn't see from the Bears last year.
Something I found from mid-September 2018, when we were just learning that Patrick Mahomes is going to be special, because we didn't know in 2017 because he didn't play except for Week 17. Matt Nagy was with Mahomes in 2017, making the jump to Trubisky in 2018. And that's just when people were starting to realize maybe the Bears got it wrong taking Trubisky over Mahomes. Nagy said that Mahomes is doing better because Mahomes had a year in that offense. He was banging that drum that Trubisky is learning it, and there are going to be growing pains for him, but Mahomes had a whole year to sit and study in that same offense. That's why he's coming out of the gates so well. And I think that history has told us since then there are other reasons why Mahomes has performed better than Mitchell Trubisky, but it was a narrative that got locked in early, Chris. And I really do think it kind of shaped that relationship, and it becomes almost impossible to change the fundamental nature of the relationship when from the beginning there's this sense that you're dealing with this guy that just doesn't get it, that has to be spoon-fed, that doesn't understand the offense, that I never can really do everything I want to do, and it just kind of avalanches from there.
It does. It definitely does. And that's why I talked about, too, the support system around a huge investment as your second quarterback or second player off the board in the NFL draft. That your job in making that investment is to protect that investment and make it look good, or then you're in trouble or your butt's on the hot seat. And that's where I think the Bears failed themselves and failed Mitch Trubisky. Again, is awesome. And we know Patrick Mahomes is another stratosphere from Mitchell Trubisky. But we also can't forget, Patrick Mahomes took over a team that was a playoff caliber football team, was like a 1 and a 2 seeds even years prior to that. And then also got to walk into a situation where it's like, hey, I'm the quarterback. Whoa, we got the best tight end in football and maybe the best weapon in football and Tyreek Hill. So he really was put in a position to succeed from the get-go. The Bears, it's year 4 for Mitchell Trubisky, and they're still trying to figure out their offense and figure out the talent and what they can do. Who scares you on the Bears offense? Nobody. There's a lot of good. There's no great. And it's hard to be a great quarterback when you got nobody on the team that scares the defense other than, maybe you as a player. That's hard. That's tough sledding.
But, Chris, I do give the Bears credit. They didn't compound their mistake by extending the contract by a 5th year. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option. Worst case scenario is the good problem to have where Trubisky has a big year and they're backed into a corner. Do they use the franchise tag? Do they sign him to a contract? And remember this, if the salary cap drops in 2021 because of the financial consequences of the pandemic, there's a chance that the franchise tag next year will actually be lower than what the 5th-year option salary would have been if the Bears had picked it up. So they still have that in their back pocket because the 5th-year option was $24 million and change. Right now, the franchise tag is $26.8. Depending upon how far the salary cap drops, it may be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So, look, the best case scenario for the Bears would be for Trubisky to finally become the guy that they thought he was going to be. If that happens, you gladly franchise tag him and find a way to keep him around. And, I still think that it's a long shot, especially for week 1. For week 1, it's going to be Nick Foles. And until Nick Foles gets injured, Trubisky's going to have to sit and watch and wait for a chance to go prove that everyone is wrong and that there really is something there that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, agreed. I just think it makes too much sense. It's just too much of a bullseye on Mitch Trubisky right now. If you make him the starter, it's going to become a hot button topic, not only in Chicago where it already is, but throughout the nation. It's going to be under such a microscope. It'll become part of a dysfunctional team. Really, it really will. It'll make the team dysfunctional. Is the better way to say that. Sorry. So I'm with you. I think you start Nick Foles and you let him go until whether he gets hurt or fails, and then you can bring Trubisky off the bench.
Before we go, let's fast forward by a year. Yesterday, I suggested that Marcus Mariota would be a perfect backup to Taysom Hill in New Orleans if Taysom Hill has an offense structured for him by Sean Payton. How about Trubisky as the number 2 behind Taysom Hill? Think of what Trubisky can do, Chris. Maybe Trubisky's second act will be as the backup to Taysom Hill in New Orleans. And you think about that connection. The Ryan Pace came from New Orleans. Pace saw something in Trubisky that was shaped by everything Pace learned while working with Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton. So there's already something there that would make an outsider think this is apparently Sean Payton's kind of guy. Unless Sean Payton just flat out lied to Ryan Pace to throw him off the Patrick Mahomes scent, which is possible too. But think about skill sets. Think about what guys can do. It's not out of the question to see Trubisky as Taysom Hill's backup in 2021. Because obviously Trubisky will be a backup somewhere. He won't be a starter.
Right. No, exactly right. He's a phenomenal athlete, and I'm glad you brought it up because I think it's something that kind of was missed last year. Remember, he got hurt early in the year, and that really took, I think, his ability or his aggressiveness to run the football. And yeah, I think it's a very good thought by you, Mike. Or, you go somewhere and you back up Cam Newton, similar type theory, right? Where it's going to be that offense to where, yeah, you're going to throw it, but we're going to take advantage of your running the football and your ability to move and do all of that stuff too. I know you and I have had this conversation before, but, if you're going to draft some of these running quarterbacks sometimes, you got to run them. You can't wait until we'll run them when the playoffs start. Well, let me just check. Yup, you didn't make the playoffs, so you never ran them last year. I think, some of these teams need to push the envelope a little bit with that conversation with some of these guys that have that dual threat ability.
And if all else fails, Trubisky can go play for the Raiders because John Gruden is a quarterback whore.
Dur.
Whore dur. All right, that's it for today. When's the next Unbuttoned?
We got it coming today, 2:00 taping. It'll be me and Ahmed Fareed. We're going to talk about news around the NFL, some backup quarterback situations, and got a few other fun segments that we're going to enjoy today. So that'll be good. He's never watched The Godfather before. I made him watch it this weekend. So he's giving me a book report on The Godfather. Apparently, Ahmed, he lives under a rock, and I'm trying to bring him out from underneath that rock into the culture of the world, not even America, just the world.
Well, I'll have you read a book, and then you can do a movie review on the book the next day. So
okay.
Either way. But yeah, one of the only humans on the planet who has not seen The Godfather, who is at least 18 years old. So that's something. We'll check that out. I got Kevin Colbert, the Steelers GM, coming up later today. We'll have that on PFT PM. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully no technical glitches. If they're going to happen, the best time for them to happen is right on the way out the door. And you did a nice job of landing the plane.
Thanks, man. You know, I was taught. I was taught well by a pretty good pilot. So I'm just glad I got it done. I'm just glad it wasn't my side. I'm glad it was your side and not my side.
I was not put on Earth to fly a plane, so don't laugh at me.
Me neither.
That's for sure. All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you back here on Wednesday. Chris, great work as always. Check us out all day long at ProFootballTalk.com, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.